In the quest to keep old EVs alive and even improve them, there are third-party EV repair shops such as Konduit EV that exist in this space to keep these cars on the road. And like I said, make them like they were when they were new, but also to improve them and make them better than ever imagined when they were first built. Such as all of these old RAV4 EVs, Leafs, etc., an old Model S over there. It's very cool that these shops continue to exist. This one, Konduit EV, actually kind of pre-existed as QC Charge, but they've rebranded and made a new name for themselves. And one of the big things they're known for is the Coolant Delete of the LDU, the large drive unit, found in the RAV4, the Mercedes B-Class, and rear-wheel drive or performance old Model S's. So that's what we're looking at today, the Coolant Delete of a rear drive unit in an old Model S. Why would you delete the coolant? Let's go find out. All right, rolling into the shop here. Some of you guys may find this Model S familiar, especially because of the graphics on the side. This is the very 2013 Model S that was in our I-90 Surge and won. Just kidding, it would be lost by a lot. But it made it across the country, which is crazy cool for an 11-plus-year-old car. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to here?
So my name is James with Konduit EV. I'm the head shop manager here, and this is my brother, Jacob. He's the lead technician.
How's it going?
So today, actually, even though this went across the entire United States, up and down the coast there, it's getting a coolant delete. This was replaced in August of 2023. The previous one had the coolant intrusion, so went bad. Brent, the owner, went and got a new one, and sure enough, it's already leaking. So now we're actually going to put the Coolant Delete product on there and fix this problem.
Yep, so it's just over a year and a half old and has already started leaking. As you can see, let me pull this speed sensor off. You can see some coolant and condensation on there. That should be totally dry. Wow. So not even a year and a half, or a little over a year and a half, and it is already... that seal has already failed.
Right, so this was taken into Tesla, correct?
Yep.
And they replaced the LDU?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep, with a remanufactured Tesla certified large drive unit. Yep.
Okay, wow. So now I have to redo it or fix it, or what are we doing exactly?
So it actually, the coolant intrusion isn't too bad. It shows that like it just started.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to go in and do a full rebuild yet.
Yep.
But it is where we need to put that coolant delete on there so you don't get that bearing whine and have all the rust get in there and, you know, destroy your stator. So it's right now it's preventative.
Right. So yeah, focusing on this actual part of the video, we did already pull this off of the car, and at the end of the video, we'll kind of show it being put back on. It's kind of the same process, right?
Yeah, you pretty much can just...
So
you can just play the video in reverse and it'll show, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same process. So.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, how hard is it to do this?
It's really not that hard. The hardest part is obtaining a lift and a battery table.
But and if you don't have that, then a forklift.
Yeah, right, okay. That as well. So the actual work really isn't that hard. I mean, it's kind of, I always say it's like adult Legos. You just got to remember where it all goes. Yeah, we can show you exactly what all it entails and show you how bad the coolant intrusion is once we get that coolant manifold off.
All right, so like I said, we will show how this goes back in, which again is a reversible process. You guys can literally, like you said, play the clip back. We'll throw some funny music on it, whatever.
Yeah.
But talking through kind of briefly what's going on up here, like when you had to take this down, you said there's some frame bolts, some things disconnecting.
Yep, yeah, so there's a frame bolt, and this is all repeatable on that side. Just a frame bolt right here, right there as well. Coolant hose, the high voltage cables, some of the connectors.
Make sure you pull your interlock out.
Yes, of course you want to do that.
Yeah.
You don't want to fry yourself. Got a little ground, and then that's about it for what's holding in the actual subframe, other than the strut.
Yeah, those are a pain, right?
Yes, a huge pain in the butt. What we found is if you take out the bolts holding in the subframe and then lower the battery table just a smidge, it should buy you enough room to get those bolts out.
Okay.
And you actually have to take the parking brake sensor off of the parking brake before you remove the strut bolt.
Right.
Or else it'll hit this and you can't back it out any farther. So you have to take
for hours.
Yeah, and then it's not a game you want to play.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, so at this point, we're going to start taking out some of these other bolts that are holding it in. All of this is repeatable on each side. So what I do is I take this one out first, size 18. This one as well, also size 18. And then I loosen this one. I don't take it all the way out. That also a size 18. And then you can pull this back. If you have the suspension component right there, you want to be careful not to invert it, or else you'll have to get that recalibrated. And then you can get the CV axle out. And then at that point, you're going to take out the motor mount bolts, which is a size 18, 3 size 13s on this side. And then we can actually get the motor out of the subframe.
Perfect. All right, so while he is over there tackling it with the time lapse, of course, let's talk about, I guess, why you would need to do this.
Yeah.
When you need to do this.
So there's many reasons why you should do this. First, actually starting at the coolant manifold here. So we actually have one from each vehicle. This one's from a Mercedes B-Class. This is from a Toyota RAV4 EV, and this is from a Tesla. Starting off, each one of them have a seal failure. So the number one killer of all these large drive units, which are in the 2012 to 2014 Toyota RAV4 EVs, the 2014 to 2017 Mercedes B-Class EVs, and the 2012 all the way to 2022 Tesla Model S's have that issue. But that seal fails, and you can see here that beautiful pink coolant that runs in the Mercedes there.
Yum.
Started pouring out, got into the guy's motor, killed it. Here's what they originally looked like. So,
okay.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
But that was their solution to
Oh.
keeping all the coolant out of the whole large drive unit. This one's out of the Toyota RAV4 EV. As you can see, it gummed everything up as it heated up. And, I mean, that one needed a rebuild. And then this one's out of the Tesla, and you can see all that rust there. So,
Yeah.
you know, we went through the whole process of originally starting it. This is our very first one that we did. So this is where it all began when we were actually manufacturing and making them. That's the Coolant Delete Performance, which allows you to add the oil cooling. You know, that's for people who really want to race their Teslas and push, you know, their motor to extreme lengths. And then this is our newest one, which is the Coolant Delete Light, which is just, you know, for daily drivers and whatnot. But yeah, so
that,
you know, once
that brings me to a point. I mean, Coolant Delete sounds like a bad thing. Like
yeah, so. Man,
why would you delete coolant? Don't you need that?
So the name is misleading. You know, Tony, the original owner of QC Charge, who was here for a while, he named it Coolant Delete. Why? We don't know. Realistically, what it's deleting is the Teflon seal, but you know, to everyone else, it sounds like, why delete the coolant? Now you're going to hurt the motor. Well, it still just deletes that Teflon seal. It still allows all the coolant to go to all the major components of the motor. So realistically, it's not deleting anything. You know, it should have been called a coolant bypass, but everyone knows it now as the coolant delete. So that's what it stays as. But yeah, if you don't get one of these things, I mean, it's a 100% failure rate for all large drive units. And you know, this is what it looks like here. So this is what your rotor looks like inside one of your stators. This was just horrible coolant intrusion.
Wow.
So this customer came in, this was out of a Toyota RAV4 EV. I mean, his wouldn't even drive. It would clunk and not go anywhere because there was so much buildup that the actual rotor itself couldn't spin. So that's what that looks like. He needed a full rebuild.
Okay.
It started getting into his inverter and everything. Luckily, he had been with QC Charge before. We transferred into Konduit EV, and he had a storm drain on there, which this storm drain allows for, when situations like that happen, for the coolant to leak out of the large drive unit. He did not have a coolant delete. He only had the storm drain, because at that point in time, he's like, oh, I don't want the coolant delete. I'm worried it's going to affect the large drive unit. And we're like, no, you should really get it. He put the storm drain on, and that's what happened. So, and then, yeah, this is stripped splines here on another one. All the grease ran out on the primary drive shaft, and so it stripped all these splines, and then it just spins in there.
Wow.
Yeah, and you don't go anywhere. Once again, coolant. You can see it's the major killer of these stators and rotors. So yeah, and that's this one we were 3D printing, testing it out, making sure everything lined up and works here. So you can see where the normal seal would actually be. It's just gone. So, and everyone's like, well, wouldn't that affect the motor performance? Tesla's doing it now. So we must be doing something right. So this came out of a Tesla Model S here. This is what your stator should look like. This is how it's supposed to be.
Nice and clean.
So nice and clean. This is what it looks like when the coolant gets in there. Mind you, that big rotor sits in there.
Right.
And that's what it looks like. So that was the one that actually was stopping and not being able to go anywhere. It would move for about 30 seconds, then lock up, and then it would just, grind. And this is worst case scenario. We can't even get this out. So it's fully stuck in there.
Actually,
yeah, you can't even rotate it. So the bearing will spin a little bit, but yeah. So once that coolant gets into these stators and rotors, I mean, we can rebuild them. This one, we're still trying to figure out how to press it out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, once we get that out, we can rebuild all the bearings. We clean the rotors. So that's like good scenario.
So if you don't catch it in time, is it just like a worse and worse rebuild scenario? Or
Yeah.
when does it become rebuild versus replace?
Yeah. So in the very beginning, it's more preventative. We have a bunch of people come in and it just starts, and you can tell because the coolant's still blue. There's no rusting. Like it's not all gooey. When you pull that speed sensor off, we're like, okay, you just need the coolant delete.
Right.
Like it hasn't gotten into your stator too deep. Like it'll evaporate as the rotor spins and gets up to highway speeds. So we'll tell them get the coolant delete. We'll throw the storm drain on there just in case there's any coolant that's passing through. It can come out and evaporate that way. But when we pull that speed sensor and it's brown and there's green goo all built up in it and it's got bearing line, that's when it's time for a rebuild. The first thing we always ask people is, does it drive?
Yep.
Hey, my Tesla's not working, my Toyota RAV4 EV's not running. Okay, great. Does it drive? Does it stop? We go through a little scenario of questions and ask them. If it doesn't drive, that's normally bad news. It means that all the coolant has gotten to the inverter here, and you can see our inverter graveyard. These are actually all Toyota RAV4 EVs.
Really?
Yep. So those are the brainchild to the large drive unit there, and unfortunately, you cannot get these Toyota RAV4 EV inverters anymore. So when they're out, they're out. They only made 2,600 of these vehicles. Tesla won't make them. Toyota won't make them. So we try and salvage them, but yeah, a lot of them go off to the junkyard now. So we tell people, if you have a Toyota RAV4 EV or a Mercedes B-Class EV, get a coolant delete on there because they're getting harder and harder to find these inverters.
I was going to say, so Toyota RAV4 and B-Class, I mean, Tesla won't work on any of those, basically?
No, it's this weird gray area. So a lot of people come here, and they're like, hey, I took it to Mercedes, and they said to take it to Tesla, but then I took it to Tesla, and Tesla's like, I won't touch it, it's Mercedes, and they're like, but it's your technology. And so there's this weird warranty thing that was going on. So now you have these Toyota RAV4 EVs and the Mercedes B-Class, the E250s that just, they don't know how to work on them. And a lot of them won't even touch them now. So it's kind of unfortunate, but luckily, we got little third-party shops like us that, specialize in them. So it's pretty great.
So the three different vehicles that we've been talking about, Model S, RAV4 EV.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait.
How's it going over there? Oh, yeah. Tesla over-tighten it? Yeah, we get a lot of that.
Nice. So the three different vehicles that this actually applies to, the RAV4 EV, B-Class, Model S, is the process the same for doing the coolant
Yes.
deletes?
So every single large drive unit is pretty much the same, other than the Toyota RAV4 EV. It has a parking paw that's actually built into it, and the gear set is reversed inside. So, but other than that, the rebuild process is the exact same for the Model S, for the RAV4 EV, and the Mercedes B-Class 250e. It's all the same.
Okay.
It depends on the severity that the coolant intrusion goes into the large drive unit. It can make it more difficult, but like I said, the process is the exact same. So they just change a few minor things here and there.
And then from a maintenance concern, like a proactive mindset is what hopefully brings you into your shop to get this done.
Yeah.
Is there anything else as, quote unquote, while you're in there?
Yeah, so believe it or not, there is oil in your electric vehicles. People do not know that. So there's the Dextron 6 oil, automatic transmission fluid that sits in these large drive units. No one changes them. You need to change it like every 60,000 miles. It's like $200. 60,000 miles, I spend $100 on my Toyota Land Cruiser
right.
every 5,000. So, $200 every 60,000 miles. Change that Dextron in there. Your coolant should also get changed around the same time as well, because that does break down. But yeah, a lot of people don't know. There's oil in your large drive unit. You have to do oil changes on your electric vehicles. So,
Right.
I mean, other than that, too, the CV axle seals, we just replace as needed. So some of them wear out, and just pop those out, put them in. Pretty easy stuff.
And obviously you guys specialize in this stuff, but for the somewhat amateur DIYers, I mean, how much of this is capable of your own garage space?
Man, realistically, there are some specialty tools that we have to use to get certain bearings out, get certain gear sets out. If you were to do this at home, I will say you're going to have to take your time, and you're going to have to go and buy some specialty tools from them, from Bosch. Bosch actually makes them, but man.
And I guess
if you're doing this at home, like it's probably going to take you a week and a half to get it done.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess on that note, and maybe it's worth its own video at some point, but like the scheduled maintenance type things, like a lot of people when they buy an EV, they're like, oh, cool, no maintenance. But like, let's say those basic fluid changes, are those doable at home?
So yeah, they're doable. It's just, so it's actually kind of hard to see, but here's like your fill plug on these things.
Yeah.
And so you have to get a transfer pump. And most of the time, these large drive units are like, you get this much room to work with. So if you want to do your change, you got your drain plug there.
Yep.
And you can fill it here, and you can fill it here. But this is mostly blocked some of the time in the RAV4 EVs and the Mercedes. So it can be a little bit of a pain, but any DIYer shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
Changing your fluids. But yeah, motor rebuilds, the large drive unit rebuilds. That's a heck of a time,
Easier to shop like this.
It would be a cool video to see how you could rebuild one of these like on your own with bare minimum tools.
Right.
It would be a cool experiment. Yeah. Alrighty. So we just had worst case scenario, every mechanic's worst nightmare.
Yeah, we just came to check on the process. Like, what the heck happened, man?
A broken bolt.
Oh, God.
So, it was cross-threaded really, really badly in there. We, applied some heat, hoping that we could try and get it out of the cast aluminum. Yeah, nope.
Wow.
Broke no avail. Yep.
Whatever shop previously worked on this, that's crazy. I've never seen it.
Yeah, this is the first time we've ever had this issue.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen the classic over-torqued pretty much everything. But not that bad. That really is going to prolong the process, as most of us know.
Now we have to drill it out, tap it,
Yep.
It's gonna be a little bit longer, so we probably won't be able to drive it today, but man,
we'll see.
Wild.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. All right, putting our custom bracket on to pick the motor up out of the subframe.
Yeah.
Obviously making sure that I hand thread them first so I don't strip them out.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't ask me how I know that.
Like 2 now?
That was perfect.
You shoot that.
Man, be like, oh yeah, there's also this cool Yeah.
They may not want to. You want to put that battery out?
Yeah. I'll do that while Jacob. There you are. Keep going.
There you go.
Cool.
There she is,
Easy peasy.
LDU
in all her glory.
Might as well add a storm drain on this thing while you're at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool, look at it all nice and shiny. So here now you can see that the coolant intrusion has started pushing the grease out of that rotor bearing. That's what all that discoloration is, more so than just the actual coolant. So we'll get a real good view of it once I take that manifold off.
So is this one of the better conditioned ones you guys have seen, but
you're
still taking action?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the majority of them that make it in here, they're past the point of where you can just do the coolant delete. You got to do the full rebuild. But as far as the ones that do make it in here on time, before coolant has actually made it into the stator, it's really not that bad because you can tell it's just grease. It's not rust and corrosion.
Right.
Which at that point, that's when you really got to start weighing whether or not you want to do a full motor rebuild. I'll grab my pinwheel. Take that one out as well, so we have some play in this tube up top. And then I always just get, there it is, one of these bad boys, put it right back there, and pinch the hell out of your finger.
Oh.
Oh. All right. Cool. All right, so really not that bad. Definitely pushed out some of the grease out of the bearing, but
Oh, it has the red seal on it, yeah.
yep. But really not bad.
So
No rust and corrosion, so we'll clean all of that out. Make sure it's nice and dry before we put on the new coolant manifold.
what does the red seal indicate?
So I think that was the newer Teflon seal from what I
No,
recall.
this is not actually, which is weird because it's a
Is it a single
reman.
or is it
It's a
triple?
single. It's a single-lipped seal, which is weird because I think they came out with a triple-lipped Teflon seal, which was supposed to be more resilient.
That's right, and you got this replaced in August of 2023. So this must have just been one sitting on their shelf for a while, huh?
Who knows? Who knows? And then I found this the best way to dry out the inside of the rotor is just get one of these guys and then a rag and then just push it back and forth through there. You can use compressed air, but the compressed air really doesn't dry it out as much as the rag does. So. And then I usually get a wire wheel and then brush up this surface just so it gets all the RTV off, and then I'll clean it up with some acetone as well before we put the new Coolant Delete on. Blow out some of this gunk too. There we go. Just got some all over my face. And obviously you should wear eye protection, and I am. And this is just to remove RTV. You don't want to be taking away material. Material being aluminum. So just low speed. Just making sure to get all the RTV off. So we have a nice clean mating surface for the Coolant Delete. Perfect. All right, now I'll go grab that Coolant Delete. And we're going to put the performance on. There it is. Walked right past it. Because it's Brent's Tesla, also our shop Tesla, and who knows what we're going to do with it eventually. So
I'll say, so what exactly does the performance one add again?
oil cooling to the rotor. So what the Coolant Delete does is it removes cooling to the rotor, which is totally fine for daily driving. It's for the people, the Coolant Delete Pro with the oil cooling option is for the people that are going to want to, really race these things, put them into, any conversions where they're going to be taking it to the track and really driving them hard. We don't really have any plans on doing that with this, but who knows? Never know what the future holds. Hold it steady, would you?
Sorry, my arms are shaking from holding it for so long.
All right. There we go. Looks like I have a little thin spot right there, so put a little more. There we go, and we just replaced that so it doesn't need any RTV at the bottom. And so the Coolant Delete Performance needs aftermarket bolts as well. The Delete Lite does not. It can use the stock bolts that held in the original coolant manifold.
And why does this one need aftermarket? Just slightly different.
Yeah, just because these spots are just a little bit thicker.
Got it.
And with the performance, it just looked a little better with new shiny bolts. But mainly just because of the difference in not diameter, whatever the word I'm looking for. So I'll just place those in there for now. Grab my Allen wrenches.
And so how does the additional cooling work with the performance one?
So this top bolt right here has red Loctite on it. That one has red Loctite on it because it's never going to be opened up again. That was just so that we could drill the coolant passage through that way, so that you can have your coolant circuit still intact.
Got it.
But then for the oil cooling option, we have these 3 plugs. These are held in by blue Loctite so that you can actually get them out in the future. And then as far as a oil cooling option, we have mock-ups, but we haven't really come out with anything that we are able to sell just yet. But yeah, it would just be the oil would be coming in through here. You'd put a new seal in that would go around the rotor, one that's obviously not anything that Tesla has come up with.
Right.
We would think it would be the same sort of seal that was on the other side of the rotor, which I can show you. It basically just looks like a small rear main seal. And it would go on the interior, and I can grab a Coolant Delete to show you where it would go. So on the interior, you can see this cutout for where the seal would actually sit, and that's right where that rotor also goes into. And so, yeah, then it would create that seal, and you can see right there, that's where the oil would go in, and then it would go back out through here.
Right.
So as far as, like I said, any sort of actual product, we don't have it out just yet. We're still trying to find a seal that will hold up to, but what's it, 18,000 RPM is the max rating for these rotors and bearings. So it's hard finding a seal that exists already that you don't have to make yourself. But so far with all of them that we've sold, no one's needed the rotor oil cooling. So it hasn't, lit a fire under our butts yet just to actually get something going. And a lot of people want to make it themselves too. And I think there actually is a gentleman that I saw on one of the Tesla forums that did make an oil cooling option for the rotor. But I'd have to go back and find it. So these you really don't have to torque down that hard. You can see as long as it's seating properly and touching, then you've probably tightened it down enough. It's in inch-pounds, so you're really not wanting to torque it down much. You're screwing into aluminum, so you want to be careful. Add a little more play. Give the bottom ones just a little more. And there she is. Get the RTV out of the reluctor chamber. Put that back on in there. Just like that. Nice and solid. That wants to go in sideways, we'll just cut that and and just like that, she's in.
Great job holding it. Real pro.
Oh yeah.
It's a hard job back here.
Almost forgot you were there.
I can't see what's going on, so.
Goes by feel.
Yeah. Cool. Clean up the speed sensor, make it look all nice and new. Go ahead and put it on in there, like so. And then put that bolt back in wherever I put it. There she is. Once again, you're screwing into aluminum, so you want to be careful not to over torque it because you will strip it out quickly. All right, now at this point we can drop her back in, put the frame bolts in, and start putting all this back together.
Let's
still
put
have
the storm drain on it.
Oh, the storm drain.
Well,
Yeah,
you got to be
almost forgot about
careful.
that.
You don't want to, break the seal because then you void the warranty.
Yeah.
And, you don't want that to happen.
Well, they did really good last time, so.
Yeah. Alrighty, so now we are on the inverter side of the motor. We will be installing the storm drain. There we go. What the storm drain does is it allows Dexron oil to flow out of your inverter side if your rotor oil seal ever fails. So what happens if you don't have the storm drain is all of your Dexron oil will go into your inverter, which is fine in the aspect of it won't short anything out because it's non-conductive, but it runs your gearbox dry. And then, all of your gears and bearings will give way eventually.
Right.
So by doing this, it will let you know whether or not that oil seal has ever failed. It also helps out with if coolant has ever gotten into your stator, it's going to get super hot. It's going to start evaporating, and it will travel to this side and be able to escape via that hole.
So this is basically one of these, just you guys have welded
Yep.
something.
Yep. And you can
Nice.
see right there.
Literally a storm drain.
Yep. Exactly. So now we will remove the original inverter cover. Just a bunch of Torx bolts, size P30. Cool, set those there. And then we have a few, get that off the ground, T10s on this side right here. And
Oh, yeah. You don't
forget
want to pull this off without undoing
Forget
those
those.
because then you'll rip the...
Yeah, you rip the connector out
Yeah.
of the inverter, and
Don't ask us how we know that.
I've never done that.
No.
No, there's a sharp learning curve when you're getting into this, and there's only one way that you get better, and that's by learning, and
Oh, yeah.
mistakes are sure to come. But
Yeah, when you first get into this business, there's no manual for it.
no. So what you're hearing, that loud clacking sound, it's not the inverter cover hitting the inverter, it's just the inverter cover hitting its little spot right here. So I know it sounds bad, but it's not. So let me grab a, let's grab one of these. There we go, there's my flathead. Put it in between, and then turn sideways. Go back here, another turn. All right, that should be good. Would you hold it a little tighter?
Yeah,
Come on.
all right. Yeah, you got to be real careful taking this off.
Yeah.
You damage one of those boards and game over.
There she goes.
Nice. And here's the brains.
This is like defusing a bomb.
I know.
Yeah. Let's see.
How's it looking? Is it dry in there?
Looks like it. It looks like just a remanufactured inverter that didn't, or inverter cover that didn't get cleaned very well. Which is, I mean, that's pretty crazy considering the money that you're paying for these motors, you know? You'd think it would be top notch. But yeah, the motherboard looks good. Really don't see much. Maybe a little, I don't know exactly what all that junk is, but yeah, it's all good.
What's crazy is if you look down here, so this is where all your connectors are. And if you don't have that storm drain and you have really bad coolant intrusion, it all piles up right in these connectors, then it fries the main motherboard, and man, it's a really bad spot to put all those connectors.
Yeah, makes
If it
sense.
was up here,
Yeah.
it'd be as simple as just replacing one of the gate drivers. But
Nope, they're like, well, let's put it on the bottom.
yep, cool. All right, so now we're going to install the inverter storm drain cover, nice and gently. Then you'll want to come on this side and see how it's not matching up. You can kind of pull it into place.
Make sure there's
Push a little bit. Make sure that your bolt holes are lining up. You can see behind this stupid warranty thing, or just over here. They're pretty close. Nice and even. Should be, see? Yeah, there we go. Nice and easy. Push it flush, and then once it's nice and flush, you can twist it a little. Let's see. Usually, that was too much. Come on. There we go. Nice and flush. Then I will go ahead and put my T10 bolts in right here. And these strip out really easy. So I use about between a 4 and a 6, so a 5. Depends on how I'm feeling that day. But they strip out really, really easy, so I'm gonna be careful. Because it's just screwing into plastic. And she's done. Cool, now we can lower it back into the subframe, start putting in the bolts, and then we got to figure out what's going on with that over there, the broken bolt. So that'll be a lot of fun.
All right, let's get this all lined up here.
There we go. Can you push that one down? That's usually how I do it.
Yeah.
Push it down and then, oh, that sway bar is going to be in the way.
Yeah,
you got to pull it out.
Lower it.
There you go. Oh, dang, that's second time in less than 30 seconds.
2 for 2.
All right. Then we have the 3 bolts holding it into the side motor mount. Those are size 13. Push it down. See, that's what I was saying earlier, is I don't know how you could do this job without all this equipment, you know, holding the, the forklift holding the motor up, a battery table, a lift, but apparently there's people that can do it. I couldn't imagine how long it takes, but I am blessed to have all of this equipment at my disposal, so.
I guess you could use a cherry picker.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Let's see. All right, so now we are taking out this motor picker-upper, as I like to call it.
Official term.
Yep. We have all the bolts back in, holding the motor into the subframe. We haven't torqued them down just yet. But we had a heck of a time getting the bolt out that broke earlier. Finally succeeded after, 2 hours?
Something like that.
Yeah, so we can finally actually start putting everything back together, which we will do now. So, let's see. Oh, man, my hands are torn up today from all the wrenching. So for this one, I always use a hand tool because you can't get a drill in because of the sway bar unless you want to do extra steps and take it out. I don't, so I torque it until it's nice and tight.
German spec?
Yep. All right. And then the 313s on this side. There's my gun. Torque them down. Nice and good. And then before we forget, let's plug in that speed sensor so the car will actually go somewhere when we get it all back together. There we go. Cool. All right, and so we're also going to be replacing the CV axles with some of the ones that we already have here. His were making a creaking sound every time he would go from start to stop. So let me go grab those real quick. There we go.
So, axle time?
CV axle time.
Finally back on track. Putting it all back together, putting the CV axles in. So just lifted this out of the way just enough to get that in, and now he's going to do it on that side as well. Usually Oh, there you go.
Let's give it a little.
There she goes.
Nice. And then we always re-grease the ends of them here because you can see when it's all red like that, and you can see on the inside all that grease from all the wear and tear just dries it out.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's so much torque there that it literally dries it out.
Push this bad boy back under there. This thing's a lot of fun to move. It wants to move every way except the way you want it to go. Ugh.
Just like the shopping carts at IKEA.
Yeah. Very nice.
Oh, it takes a lot of skill.
Yeah. Eventually you get pretty decent at it. I think that's not too terribly off. Oh no, it is. Alright. Alright. You wanna give me that air compressor?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Now we're just moments away from actually getting this back in there.
All right, let's get churning and burning here. So what's wild is they don't mark these cables positive or negative. So you have to make sure that you put them in the correct way. Otherwise, it's a really, really bad day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the way we know how is coming out of the car, the left side is negative. So, and the right side is a little bit longer, even though the left side looks like it isn't, but the left side is always negative coming out, which, oh, look at that. They're twisted. There we go. So left is negative, right is positive. Just like that.
Now, if you put it in backwards and turn this bad boy on, you're going to see a fireworks show.
I've never had the pleasure of seeing that,
No.
so.
We have not.
Alrighty, so this is the actual tubing that I just connected to the storm drain and the little 90-degree elbow that screws in right there. And this allows any of that Dexron oil that leaks through the rotor seal into the inverter side to drain out to the driver's side rear. So that will let the customer or the person that owns the car, which is Brent in this case, know that his rotor oil seal has failed.
Nice. Fascinating solution.
Yes, it is.
Now, once everything's all put back together, you get the coolant delete on, you get all the high voltage cables put on, you get your fireman's lock, also known as the high voltage lock, put back in place.
Then your 12 volt.
Yes, and then your 12 volt. Don't ever do it the other way because then you'll get a crap ton of codes.
Oh.
Yeah. Then you'll just top off the reservoir. You can go over max because it's gonna drink a lot more than that. Especially when we put it into the coolant purge process.
And what does the coolant purge do exactly?
It basically kicks all of the pumps onto. Oh,
It's okay, it's Brent's car.
it's my own car. Puts all the pumps into, I believe, close to 100%. So it's really kicking everything around in the whole coolant circuit to push any and all air out of the reservoir. So I actually, last week I was driving, because you can also drive it and it'll push it out that way as well. Yeah. But I had the car shut down on me because there was so much air in the lines that the inverter realized that it wasn't getting enough cooling, and so it shut the car down. I let it sit for a little while, drove it back in limp mode, plugged in the computer, Tesla Toolbox, and then it actually told me that it just put itself in limp mode, didn't give me any other code, nothing. So I'm like, okay, that's a little weird. I mean, I know it's in limp mode because I just drove 10 miles an hour for 2 miles.
Yep.
And then all the codes went away, and I was like, okay, that in the past, I mean, it had to have just been that drive inverter overheating. And so then I threw it into the coolant purge process in the service setting, And then I watched the coolant reservoir go down drastically. And I was like, that's what it was, a huge coolant bubble in the system.
Wow.
So
it's important.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Absolutely it is. So we're a little over max, which is fine because it's going to go down a good amount. I will throw that into...
And I'll light this up right
Process.
here so then you can kind of see the coolant level there.
And a coolant purge is just a thing in service menu, basically.
Yep. Yep, there it goes.
Ah, bubbles.
That was just for me putting my foot on the brake.
Yep. So it's slowly taking it down right now because it's pushing all those bubbles out. Sometimes it does it in as fast as 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes up to an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. It really depends on the amount of work that's being done on it.
So you can hear
There
those
it
pumps
goes.
kick on. Because I just put it into the coolant air purge process.
Wow, yeah, the level just dropped dramatically.
Makes some pretty crazy noises.
The things people don't think about when they drive
There
these
it
cars
goes. See
around.
it going down?
Yeah. Wow.
You want to pour some more in, Jacob?
Yep.
All right.
It went down a good bit. I always like keeping it right under the max line. 'Cause why not? Yeah, it's just in the service setting, and then you unlock the gateway.
Yep.
And then it allows you to do the coolant air purge, and it's labeled just coolant air purge.
Yep, makes sense. All right, so he's battening up the car, but we're pretty much done here coolant delete wise.
Yeah.
And not too bad. Honestly, we ran into some bolt challenges, which
man.
not Chevy bolt challenges, but just like,
Yeah.
normally it's not actually that challenging, which is
No.
pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely some hours of work, some knowledge on how to do it. But once you've done it a million times, like these pros, really not too bad.
Yeah, it's normally pretty easy. Like I said, when you don't run into breaking a bolt here and there, then, it's a pretty easy job. So normally it takes us about 7 hours on one, but if there's two of us, it takes us about 4 hours. So
Right.
you're in and out same day. The coolant delete process, super easy. A lot of people ask like, oh, does it affect the way that it drives? Like, is it going to cause issues? You're not going to have any problems. And if you do, bring it back. It's under warranty. So the cost of it to actually get this done, I know we get asked that a lot as well. It's about $1,830, but we're actually working on bringing the price down here in the next week or so because we got some new manufacturing and some really exciting things coming in the pipeline. So
Cool.
Yeah, it's a heck of a process. We get you in and out same day. We're going to take it for a test drive. Normally that's what we do afterwards, really make sure everything's all seated correctly, and then get the customers back out on the road. So
Sweet.
get this back out on the road for another race maybe.
Right. Yeah. A different highway
Yeah.
this time. I-90,
Yeah.
we've already done that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching another Out of Spec Renew video. If you want to find these guys, conduitev.com with a K.
Yep, Conduit with a K. Conduit can do it. So
I love that. All right.
Awesome.
See you guys.
thank you.
Yeah.